Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by brilliance.
What is up, Internet? That's right. It's time for another episode of the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast. I'm your host, founder, creator, all things awesome, Josh Will. If it's the first time you've listened to the podcast or watched the podcast, I'm going to fill you in on what this podcast is about. So the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast was created to bring together like-minded people who don't get offended by much and who are annoyed by a lot of things. We're talking a lot of things. It's a podcast where humor, levity, smidge of serious discussion, a lot of satire, and it's just going to give you a glimpse into the inner workings of my brain, a self-proclaimed get-off-my-lawn guy. And you'll hear some funny stories, some interesting opinions, a whole lot of grumpiness, and a lot more from some really interesting people and some not-so-interesting people. This is where I would typically segue into my guests and intro them. Well, guess what? No guest today. We're changing it up. It's a solo edition. All me, all podcast. That's all you got. It's probably not going to be as long. And if you actually do watch from beginning to end, I applaud you. I thank you. Because however long this is, if you're listening to me the whole time, it's, I don't know. We're about to find out. We're in uncharted territory here. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this, do it solo. I think when the holidays roll around, people get busy with those and work. I didn't have a podcast last week because I just been having problems finding new guests. I can get some of the frequent flyers to come on here regularly, but I'm trying to also get some new guests. And some of you guys and gals who would be great to be on here, you're reluctant, and that's okay. But so yeah, we're trying this solo thing. This is a day of firsts. A lot of interesting topics that we're going to talk about. We a lot of things have happened since the last podcast, specifically in the sports world. And we're going to talk about some of those things. I'm going to give you my opinions on some of those things. My opinions are going to piss some people off because that's my intention specifically for some of it. But yeah, so a whole lot. And there's going to be some firsts in this podcast. So I'm looking a little skinnier in here. It's probably because your boy lost 6 pounds in 24 hours this week. 6 pounds, 24 hours. No, it's not a diet routine. But if you're interested, DM me, let me know. I will give you the name of a wonderful restaurant here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. All you got to do is go there and order the ribeye. Order the ribeye, eat it all. 24, 36 hours later, no problem, you'll be down at least 6 pounds. You might not like how you get there, but if you're all about finding the positive in things, you'll see the result of losing 6 pounds maybe as a positive. But again, from point A to point B, it wasn't fun. I'll just leave it at that. So, some topics we're going to talk about today, and obviously we're still going to have our Surrounded by Brilliance segment, or our Get Off My Lawn segment, I'm sorry. But some topics today, specifically in the sports world. Notre Dame. That's right. Because of Notre Dame, I've created a new segment today. You will hear it. It's going to be awesome. At least I think so. It's going to be funny. How about that? Notre Dame not making the college football playoffs and then taking your ball and going home. Oh, man. Aw. We're also going to talk about that team up north. Yikes! It is not even Sharon. It's Sharon Moore. Let's be honest, though. That whole athletic department, that whole coaching staff of that football team, I mean, there's just stuff going on. They got problems, right? I saw a quote on social media yesterday, and it was somewhat impartial. It wasn't I'm a Buckeye fan. Full disclosure, I'm a Buckeye fan, so I dislike that team up north. But it was not a Michigan fan. It was not a Buckeye fan. And they said, after looking at all these things that continually happen with Michigan's football team and their coaches, I'm beginning to start. I'm starting. It said I'm starting to side with Ohio State fans on why they hate them so much and why they're so irritated by them. So, kind of made my heart grew like the Grinch. It grew a little bit bigger when I heard that. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Joe Burrow. He's my guy. I'm a Bengals fan. But boy, that dude has been putting out some cryptic, passive aggressive tones, and I'm going to give my thoughts on those. And we're also, I'm going to be announcing, this person already knows it if you're watching, our first ever banning. We've got our first banning from the podcast. There is a guest who has been on here who has been banned temporarily. That person can, give me a call, shoot me a text, grovel, get down on your hands and knees and beg, whatever you need to do, and ask me what you need to do to get back on this podcast, and I will give you those. But we're gonna talk about that too. So before we get into all those topics, because again we're just trying a little different format here, and I'm going solo. But and my wife is asking me to feed the cats. Sorry, honey, we're solo. Ignore. Probably gonna regret that. Anyways, we're just gonna go right into our get off my lawn segment. I've got a very interesting one for you that just happened this week. And if this is the first time you've listened to this podcast, this is, I always like to ask my guests, what does the phrase "get off my lawn" mean to you? And I always ask my guests that. No one ever asks me that. So what that phrase means to me is it's just those, it's those moments when someone or a group of people or something is just, they're doing something so idiotic, so ignorant, so common senseless, so clueless that you just you turn your head and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And in turn, obviously, it annoys you. And then if you say it out loud to someone, like, oh, I don't like the way that person is in public talking on the phone out loud. That's annoying. Now, there's a group of society, there's a part of society that will be like, oh, Josh is just one of those get off my lawn. He's like a get off my lawn grumpy old guy who just gets grumpy about stuff. Well, yeah, you know what? People talking on their phone in public out loud like that can be annoying. So, so that's what get off my lawn means to me. It's those things where you're just like, you can't help but just turn your head and be like, what? Like, do you have no manners? Are you an idiot? Like, why are you doing that? So anyways, the get off my lawn segment. I had ordered a pair of shoes a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, whatever it is. And, I ordered it. It'll be here in such and such a day. Well, the day comes, I get the email. It says, your shoes have been delivered, Josh. Cool. I look on the front porch, not there. I look out by our pole barn, because sometimes they put stuff by the pole barn, not there. I check the neighbors, not there. I checked the cameras to even see if UPS came to our house. They weren't there. So I waited a day and thought maybe they got ahead in their system and said they delivered it, whatever. I waited a day. Next day came, they still didn't deliver it. So I sent an email to the shoe company and said, hey, you said these were delivered, but they're not here. Can we check on that? Well, you should really check around your house, check at your neighbors, Dude, I'm the last house on the dead end road. Everything's been checked, and no one's. I repeated the same things that in the email that I just to you, but in a very nice and polite way, because I am nice and polite. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we'll check with UPS, but they're saying it's been delivered. And I'm like, yeah, it's not here. It's not here. So the next, ironically, later that evening, I left the house, went somewhere, and about a mile from our house, so right near the end of where our road starts, there is a stop sign there. And I saw this package or I saw like this, we'd gotten a lot of snow during that day and the day before. So I saw kind of like this pile of snow that looked awkward leaning up against the stop sign that was right there. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So I went, did my thing, came back. And then my wife, she was like, hey, was there a package that came for me today? I know that because I had sent a text, when I didn't get my shoes, I sent a text to my family and said, did anybody get a package before I could get it and bring it in the house? Just want to make sure, covering my bases. So my wife, Tony, says, hey, I know that did that package that you were expecting come? I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, well, did the package come for me? I said, no, there was nothing that came for anyone. I said, who was it supposed to come from? She said, well, it's supposed to come from UPS. I said, when? She said, actually, it's supposed to come yesterday, same day as my shoes. I'm like, yeah, it didn't come yesterday. She's like, well, that's weird because I got an alert saying that it was delivered. I was like, huh, well, it didn't get delivered. And then for some reason, my mind went, yeah, this is a long get off my lawn segment, but it's worth it. My mind was like, all of a sudden it went back to that package or that pile of snow or whatever it was by the stop sign. I'm like, you know what? There was like this weird, odd pile of something at the end of the road. Again, almost a mile away. It's well over a half mile from our house. And for the record, UPS comes down here all the time. So I was like, do you want to go up there? You want to drive up there and check it out? She's like, yeah. So we drive up there, we get out, and I brush the snow off of this pile, and it's my shoes, it's her item that she ordered, and it was wrapped in a plastic bag. So this isn't a situation where UPS dropped it off, or it fell off their vehicle. They intentionally took it out, put it in this bag, wrapped it in the bag, tied it around the stop sign, and then obviously it continued to snow. Snow covers it. So it was intentional. So they left it there. If I hadn't noticed it, and it was luck that I noticed it, they'd still be sitting there. And they were refusing to tell the shoe company anything. They're like, no, we already delivered it. So my get off my lawn rant is, screw that. That's bull. Like, just pure laziness. Pure laziness. So the biggest thing is, I told this story to a couple people, right? And they're like, oh, someone was having a bad day. I'm like, I don't think they're having a bad day. I think they're just lazy. So the get off my lawn part of this is, do your job. Tom Brady always says it, right? Just do your job. Every good coach you ever had, just do your job. Do what you're supposed to do. If you're UPS, your job is to take said package, deliver it to said address, not drop it off in the middle of nowhere, like you're trying to abandon a bag of, a litter of puppies. So shame on you, UPS. The positive in this would be, we found it. It wasn't that big of an issue. And look, none of these things are that big of an issue. It's just, but that's a little annoyance, right? And had we not found that, though, this company was going to have to send me a new pair of shoes that now they were going to have to pay for. So now they're losing money. So it's the ripple effect. But the positive is my wife and I have great eyesight, and our brains are still working and functioning very strong, that we were able to be like, that didn't seem right. Let's go check it out. So the positive is our investigative skills are top notch. So we got that working for us. All right, let's get into some of these topics. So it's a day of first solo podcast, and first podcast banning. That's right. We'll get to that in a second, though. But first, we'll talk about the newest and greatest and latest segment from Surrounded by Brilliance. We bring to you Surrounded by Bitches, vis-a-vis the Notre Dame football team and their fans. Well, some of their fans. Not all their fans. Some of their fans, most of their fans are rational, reasonable, and they are disappointed in what Notre Dame has done. But Notre Dame, if you're just catching up, they were 10-2. They got beat by a top 10 team in Miami early in the season. They got beat by a top 10 team. I'm not sure if Texas A&M was top 10, but top 25 for sure. at that point in time in the season. So they went 0-2 and then won their next 10 games. And in those 10 games, there was only one team, I believe, that was in the top 25. I think it was USC at the time, and they beat USC. Everything else, all the other teams were just a cakewalk. So you're not in a conference. You're not playing regular, tough, difficult competition in your conference. So your margin for error is much thinner, right? Now, comes to the end of the season, and we all know that the college playoff rankings don't mean shit until the last and final one, right? I mean, it is flawed. I will give you that. It's messed up. It's messed up in that we shouldn't have teams like Tulane and is it North Texas, and like teams like that shouldn't be in it. Okay, I mean, this isn't I kind of agree with Joel Klatt. This isn't we're not looking for Cinderella stories. We're looking for the best teams. Okay, so fast forward, and they ended up getting in because of their conference championships or whatever the case may be. The second to last week of the playoff rankings, the committee, who messed up royally, we all know this now, they put Notre Dame in front of Miami, and neither team was playing that next week, meaning Notre Dame seems to be in, even though Miami is the team that beat them earlier in the season, and that's one of the criteria, head-to-head. So the committee did themselves no favors there. I'm sure Notre Dame fans would still be whining and crying about it had Miami been ahead of Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame still got left out. But that's a whole nother conversation. We're talking about what really happened. So they set themselves up for that. The next week, remember, nobody played. Miami jumps Notre Dame. Notre Dame's left out. They're the last man standing. And immediately after being left out, they said, we're taking our ball and we're going home and we're not playing any bowl games, guys. Okay, guys, we don't want to play any bowl games, guys, because we're Notre Dame. We're better than that. We're so good. We don't want to be in a conference. And you don't want us in the playoff? Fine, we're going home. That's what they did. And then their athletic director goes on this spree of network interviews, making the argument for them and making outlandish statements saying that they had I don't, this isn't the exact quote, but he basically said they went on the most historic 10-game winning streak ever in college football after those first two losses. Now, if you revert back to 3 minutes ago when I said they only played in the 10 games they won, there was only one team who was in the top 25, and everyone else was just shitty. Yeah, that's the most historic 10-game run by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So he goes on this tear, and he's making all these arguments. And look, is the system flawed? Yes. Okay, it is. But you choose not to be in a conference, and you lost the two games that you needed to win. If you win those two games, and then you lose to USC, and you go, so you have one loss. Or man, if you win all those games, and you lose to one of those podunk teams, beat Miami, beat Texas A&M, and win everything except let's say you lose to Navy or whoever that's not ranked, you still should be in the playoff. But you didn't do that. And then it turns into, well, these bowl games aren't worth it. The narrative changes, right? It's all this justification. Well, who cares? ESPN's just trying to profit off of this and the bowl games, and it's not worth playing in, and guys are going to opt out, so we're not going to play in it. Come on, man. Whatever happened to just like playing the game, being committed, not throwing a hissy fit. So again, I know a few people I'm gonna get a lot of backlash from this, and one of those people is our first podcast guest who has been banned. That's right, banned. Joshua Ricker has been banned from this podcast. Like I said, temporary, but he's banned from this podcast. And here I'm going to tell you why. He's on the record on this podcast as saying, hey, look, Notre Dame's got to play really well and win out, and then we might have a shot at making the playoffs. This is after those two losses, right? He goes, and You know, he said, and I quote, and if maybe we just make the playoffs because they know Notre Dame's going to pull a lot of fans and get a lot of good ratings, I'm okay with that too. He's also the same guy who's been on this podcast and has talked about how, like, this generation of kids and athletes at times and just people, they're just soft, and you know they grew up in a different time and they just give up, and it's easy for them to just quit stuff, and he does not like that. He speaks about it very, very adamantly on this podcast. But when his Notre Dame Fighting Irish don't get into the playoff, he jumps on the bandwagon with all the irrational Notre Dame fans, and he's like, they deserve to be in, man. And guess what? It didn't make sense for them to play in a bowl anyways. I mean, why should they? Why should they do that? We're going to focus on next year. So Joshua Ricker has been banned from this podcast for being soft. And he is a great friend, and I love him dearly, but he's still banned. So if you're looking to get back on the pod, Josh, get a hold of me. I love Josh. He's like one of my best friends. So I know that hopefully he'll enjoy this. I'm sure he'll come back with some fiery banter. But he's got to earn his way back on this podcast. So that's that. That's the Notre Dame. That's the banning. Next topic, Michigan. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, and I'll just tell you, even as a Buckeye fan, I'm sick and tired of every article, every not episode, but multiple segments talking about Sharon Moore, Michigan athletics. So this, like, I can't imagine what Michigan fans are thinking. If me as a Buckeye fan, I'm like, I'm sick of hearing about this. But here's my opinion. And I love how now there are some Michigan fans who are like, yeah, I didn't like Sharon Moore anyways as a coach, so it's not a big deal. There are fans saying that. Hey, it's fine if you didn't like him as a coach, but you probably shouldn't. You should probably preface it with, I don't condone his actions. So, look, we're not going to dive into it, but boy, did that escalate quickly, right? And, I mean, all I'm going to say is this. If you look at what's happened in that from a legal standpoint with that coaching staff, just the football team in the last 7 years, ever since Jim Harbaugh took over, I believe. What was the stat I saw? Either 7 coaches or members of the coaching staff, I believe 7 coaching staff had either been arrested, or 11. It's a total of 11. 7 have at least been arrested. 4 have been kicked out from coaching football. So, I mean, look, they need to. I'm not just saying this as a Buckeye fan, but if this was my team and that kind of stuff was happening, at some point you got to have reality has to hit you. Be like, you know what? Maybe we should just clean house and get rid of any coaches that are associated with that coaching staff and bring in a whole new staff. Because it's not, as much as I dislike Michigan, it's not fair to the players. Like, none of this is fair to the players. So you got to get rid of, as far as I'm concerned, you need to get rid of any coaches that were brought in under him or Harbaugh. Get them out of there, because you just need a clean slate. Secondly, how does your athletic director there still have a job? I mean, all this happened on his watch. He obviously knows where the bodies are buried in Ann Arbor. I mean, it's, you know, they're doing right now. They're doing this independence. They're doing an independent investigation. Right? Here's something that's food for thought. They hired the same law firm to do this independent investigation now. It's the same law firm that was unable to determine that Sharon Moore and the woman he was having an affair with, who both worked who was also a football staff person, they were unable to determine with their investigative skills that they were corroborate that they were having a an affair or an inter-office relationship, whatever. So to me, that's already a conflict of interest. You should be hiring a firm that has never worked for Michigan, no connections to Michigan, has never messed up an investigation previously, like they obviously did because they couldn't find anything. So, I mean, dang, yikes. So, that's that. Joe Burrow, my dude. This is the first dude I ever bought a jersey for. And now, of course, it seems as though he's trying to work his way out of Cincinnati. Look, he wants out of Cincinnati. As a Bengals fan, I don't blame him because we're terrible. There's no end in sight. And unless we fire Zach Taylor, hire John Gruden, and the Brown family sells the team to someone who actually wants to win and knows how to run a football team and isn't cheap and isn't focused only on, hey, we can make money if we put out a mediocre product or whatever, because that's what the Brown family does, in my opinion, as a Bengals fan. So I don't blame him. What I don't like is how he's going about it. I don't like how he's like kind of being cryptic and passive aggressive about it in season. I mean, dude, you're Joe Burrow. I'm sure you can work your way out of Cincinnati if you want to in the offseason. But you're saying all this passive aggressive stuff in season, and then you have to go back and comment on it and say, no, I want to be like, you're smarter than that. So I don't like how he's going about it, but I don't blame him because hopefully it's a catalyst for them to try to get the right coach, for ownership to wake up from this zombie-like experience they've been in, or trance that they've been in for, well, let me see, how long are they on the team? 30 plus years, 40 plus years, more than that. So, yeah. So I just wish he would go about it differently because I want him to be there. I want him to be protected. I mean, dude keeps getting hurt. I'm sure that sucks. He's a competitor. He wants to win. They're paying him a lot of money, paying a lot of guys a lot of money, and it's disappointing. So that's that. Those are the topics. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to do some not so rapid fire questions with myself. That's how we roll here. Because I always ask these questions, or some of these questions, but I never get to answer them. So I always ask if we went back to, Josh, if we go back to when you were 20 and said, you got to give up your looks or your sense of humor, which one would you do? And you'd have to give up one of those for the rest of your life. Well, I would give up my looks because, hey, I mean, while I was a bit of a looker back then, maybe, at least to a very small percentage of the population, 0.0000001%. My sense of humor, I've always been an advocate that your sense of humor can get you much further. If you can make someone laugh or smile, whether it's a lady or your buddies, like those connections are going to last longer. So, and you can ask my wife. She's a big fan of me because I make her laugh. It's just a cherry on top that I'm this good looking. So, zombie apocalypse happens. How long do you, Josh, think you personally survive? Well, I'm going to end up surviving the longest out of my family. I know that. My goal would be to try to keep them all alive, but push comes to shove, and you just, I mean, situations are going to happen. You can't, it's not all going to happen. I think at the end of the day, I think I could survive a year. I think I could do it. I mean, my last name is Will. I have the will to do it. I will do it. Whatever it takes. I will survive even if it kills me, I'll survive the longest. Oxymoron. Favorite vacation you have ever taken, and what's a dream vacation look like to you? I'd like to believe that I haven't taken my favorite vacation ever. So there was a lot of cool things that we saw when we were in Europe. I love going to Siesta Key, Florida to just relax and enjoy the beach. But I think I would absolutely love to. Unfortunately, I don't have Joe Burrow money, but I'd love to spend a couple weeks in Fiji on like a hut over the water with a glass bottom that you can look through. Oh, and I think that Fiji is a place where the temperature of the water is the same temperature as the air. So you literally could walk out there naked. In the air, oh, I'm naked, I'm comfy. Oh, I go into the water, no change. It's just all the equilibrium there. Astonishing. Amazing. Looking forward to it. Hopefully once I get that Joe Burrow money. Who would play me in a movie about my life? My goodness. Well, if we're being practical, from a practical standpoint, you got to go with someone that's similar build, similar look. Probably Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller. I mean, not my favorite choice, but I've got some Ben Stiller-esque looks, similar height, and I also got some Ben Affleck in me. I got to believe that. I do believe that. I got a little Ben Affleck in me, maybe a little Tom Cruise. But probably Ben. I've got some Adam Sandler in me too. Maybe a combination of like if Adam Sandler and Ben Stiller had a baby. That might be the guy. That person is yet to be born, but that person will play me in a movie about my life. So those are just some questions I want to ask myself. I'm pretty happy with the way I answered them. So look, this was interesting. I don't know if anybody's going to listen to it because I always think that to me, the allure of these are the guests. Like as the host of the podcast, I enjoy doing it, but it's my guests who make it because I always am excited to hear what they want to, how they answer the questions, what their topics are for the Get Off My Lawn segment, and just general banter with them. So that's always a part that interests me. That's what's fun to me. So I don't know how well this will be taken. I know that my topics are going to ignite some people. And again, these are all just my opinions. But this was fun. If you're still watching, I thank you for watching this long. It's been great. It's been fun. I'm not too sad about it. I'm kind of happy with this first solo rodeo for myself. But looking to get more guests on. If you'd like to be a guest on the pod, and I have reached out to you, or I haven't reached out to you, feel free to get a hold of me. I'm open to having whoever on. I mean, if you're someone I just don't like and you reach out to me and I ignore you, that's your answer on not being on the pod. No, just thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This is it's been fun. So take care and peace. Merry Christmas.
Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo bop bop a deep a doop bop bop.